This is not a test. Don't expect to be impressed. Put on your life vest. Sit down your armrest. It's time to stray from the grind. Don't take my hand 'cause you'll find no peace of mind. Side quest.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Authors and Dragons Side Quest, the every other week feature where we do stuff that doesn't involve either Drew torturing us or us torturing him. Anyway, my name is Rick Gualtieri, and joining me tonight are I was just about to say the name of the one person who wasn't here, so no. So we have Drew Hayes, John Hartness, Joseph Brassey, and Robert Bevan. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello, friends.
Hey, yo.
Salutations.
Jesus Christ.
I was going to say, God, is Plonky Tonk's voice coming back? No. It's horrifying.
Well, those of you who are listeners, you know that we do various things on Side Quest. Sometimes we play games, sometimes we get on here and just talk shit, and sometimes we have guests on. In case you're wondering, in case it's not obvious, this is one of those latter times. We have the author of Legends Lattes, as well as a guy who's done a whole shit ton of other stuff, Travis Baldree, with us.
Howdy, howdy.
Hey.
Thanks for having me on.
Welcome.
Yeah, I have to say, this is like the fastest turnaround I think we've ever had, because, true story, Travis, I saw somebody posting about your book on Facebook, and the very next day, it was all over the place. And our listeners were like, "You got to have this guy on," and I was like, "Yeah, I better reach out to this guy." This is your first novel, right?
It is. I mean, there's the whole wasteland of failed novels.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't have that? But I gotta say, I mean, this is like everywhere. It's like, it's pretty amazing. Just like, Twitter feed, Facebook feed. I'll be scrolling and I'll see it, and everywhere I go, people are talking about it, and they seem to love the shit out of this.
I wish I could claim like really intentional plan for that to work out that way, but I can't. I think it was mostly just like the cover's pretty great, and the concept's pretty easy to communicate. And also, I think everybody's just weary as hell of the world right now. So the idea of something that is not over demanding or fraught actually sounds kind of nice. The idea of going to a coffee shop and talking to other human beings whose faces you can see for an hour actually seems like escapist fantasy at this point. So,
Well, on that note, do you want to tell the listeners that concept about the book for folks who might not be familiar with it?
So the tagline is a novel of high fantasy and low stakes, which is basically exactly what it is. I mean, it's almost halfway to being like a Hallmark movie set in the Forgotten Realms. It's the story of an orc barbarian who decides she's too old and has had enough and retires and gets this kind of fabled magical artifact to use as a foundation to start a new business. And she starts a coffee shop in a city where nobody knows what coffee is. And most of the book is, it's basically kind of sort of focused slice of life. It's, found family and, the idea that you aren't stuck doing what you've always done. And yeah, it's not really complicated, but it is kind of, it's like cozy fantasy. I think that's kind of like what has sort of ended up being kind of the moniker. It's cozy fantasy. That's
super cool, because I'm in a couple of urban fantasy groups on Facebook, and this is a concept that's been talked about for a while, of like, wow, what if somebody did like a cozy mystery, but as a fantasy or something like that? But it's like one of those concepts that people talk about, and like then it's like it disappears. So the fact that you actually did it, and like, and people are loving it, is like, is well, I'll say it's really cool to see for you. It might be less cool in like, the coming months if like, if a million people jump on the bandwagon.
Well, I mean, I could use some more cozy. I could use some more kind of low stakes fiction at this point. So since I'm an audiobook narrator, I narrate. You get kind of like in genres that people come to you for, and mine is always progression fantasy and game lit, and speculative fiction. It's usually action adventure-y stuff, and it's mostly dudes between the age of like 16 and 24 who are fighting some world-ending threat, and after doing that all the time, it was like, I just needed something that was the opposite of that.
I can understand.
That's fair.
Yeah. Did you narrate the audiobook?
Oh, of course. Of course. I mean, I was basically narrating it in my head when I wrote it anyway, so.
I mean, if you've already got that skill set, that's kind of a why not.
Exactly. I mean, if I was a first-time author and I wasn't a narrator, I don't know that I would do that because...
we generally
for sure.
Discourage folks from doing that.
I generally do, too. Somebody comes to me with their book, like, hey, can I get you to do the thing? I'm like, okay, yeah, here's how much it's going to cost. And I'm like, but before you do, as I'll go and look at their Amazon, I'll be like, oh, you've got 5 reviews? Before you do, I want you to make sure that you understand that this is not going to sell books. It's only going to move audiobooks if you're already moving books. So I want you to do a little cocktail napkin math real quick before you decide you want to do this.
And figure out how many copies of that $2.99 ebook you have to sell to get this 120,000 word fantasy novel paid for the narration.
Exactly. Because I think a lot of people assume that if I can just get it on audio, it'll take off.
No.
And if I get a narrator who's known in a genre, that'll do it. But honestly, we have very little to do with that. People will pick things up if you've narrated them and they like your narration. But by and large, it's mostly driven by the books, which is why you can go to any popular narrators list and you can find books that have 0 stars or 1 star. You can find an R.C. Bray book that nobody's rating. And R.C. Bray is amazing. He should sell any book, right? No, it doesn't work that way.
No, I think that's cool that you do that. I mean, especially since we're in an industry where if you show up and throw money at somebody, they'll just be like, yeah, screw it, I'll do it.
Yeah, it's a very responsible stance.
Yes.
I mean, I found that, so I made video games for decades. It's kind of a cutthroat business. There's a lot of money going around. It's high stress. Moving to the book realm, I really like the people a lot.
Yeah.
Like all the authors that I meet and interact with, narrators that I meet and interact with, it's actually, especially, on the self-pub side of things, it's a cool community of genuinely nice people that help each other. So it feels like a bad vibe to take advantage of somebody in that, and I'm not cool with it.
I 100% agree. Like I said, I think it's a breath of fresh air. Now, I mean, one of the reasons I stayed with my cover designer for so long was that she would actually tell me when I had a stupid idea. As opposed to being like, yeah, it's a dumb idea, but I'm going to take your money anyway.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now Rick has us to tell him when his ideas are stupid.
Yeah, I'm going to get lunch. You're just going to die of food poisoning.
So I've got a question now. Between the bunch of you, how many books do y'all put out a year?
Speaking personally, 2 to 3. It was a steady 3, and then pandemic kind of knocked me for some shit.
Dang.
I'm in traditional publishing, so it's been a bit since I've had a book out.
I don't keep to a real schedule.
How long does that usually end up taking from like you're done with it and you've handed it off?
It depends on the contract. John can actually answer that a little better. My experience is kind of atypical.
But John's not going to.
Silence is telling.
It's not giving away all the secrets.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's generally from with Skyfire and Dragon Road, from when I signed the contract when it came out, it was about a year.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I typically, I'd say 3 to 4 novels, and then and then a couple of novellas. But again, the plague years have kind of really hit hard.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Rick. On the stuff that I write, it's usually 3 novels. It's usually 3 to 4 novels and 4 to 6 novellas in a year.
Yeah.
And then as Falstaff books, we produce between 45 and 60 titles a year.
Yeah.
So from the time I get a book, if it's already contracted and it comes to me from a writer that's turning in clean copy, 9 to 10 months is the very, very low end. Usually 14 to 18 months for us.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of that is, I'm the holdup on a lot of that. just because there's 13 titles on my desktop right now that I'm the editor of. So,
Oh, dang.
yeah. And I really appreciate Joe not asking where he is in the list.
I'm just gonna keep my nose to the grindstone and not worry about that.
So Travis, you asking because you're wondering what's the realistic expectation? Just since probably people are already saying when's Legends and Lattes 2 coming out?
I was just curious. I mean, I'm always interested in what people do and how they work, and the other side of the industry. I mean, that's part of the reason I wrote the book, or not wrote it, but bothered to publish it. Was just I work with authors all the time, and a good chunk of them, probably 70 to 80%, are either self-pub or small press authors. And I just like to know how things work. So I wanted to go through the whole pub process on the other side of the fence, just so that I more fully understood it. And so it's just I just like knowing how stuff works. I'm really curious about it all the time. So,
And
now that you're on the self-pub side of things, how do you like it?
I mean, I had a pleasant, good experience. I mean, you couldn't have had a better first day experience, I don't think. It was really positive, and it's been really positive, so I certainly can't complain. End to end, this was the NaNoWriMo book, so I did this last November, and so it was a pretty fast turnaround. It was a slow. I did a slow edit with my editor, and probably kind of like atypical in the way we approached it. So it took a good month for the. Actually, I mean, it probably took more like 2 months for the full editing process, because we went through multiple rounds of it. One was like the slow edit, and one was like a tuck it in edit, and we'd only do like a couple chapters a day, tops, 1 or 2. So, and
Makes
there's
sense.
Christmas in there. And then the cover art, I had the initial layout done in advance, and handed off all the spec notes to the artist, and he started in the start of January, and then that was like maybe 2 weeks for getting the paint. And something like that, maybe 2 or 3. And then kind of toward the end of January, it was mostly done. It was just final edits and, vellum layout and fumbling around in KDP and figuring everything out.
Yeah, the cover hits really hard. I mean, I'm so on illustrated covers. Some that they're usually hit or miss for me, but this is it's simple yet super effective.
I mean, it does the 2 things it's supposed to do. It's supposed to clearly communicate the vibe of the book, which it does pretty well. And the other one is it's supposed to evoke like fantasy's nostalgia for like 90s paperbacks, basically. Everything from the typography to the basic art style. I mean, it's never going to look exactly like 90s paperback, because people don't oil paint paperback covers anymore. It just, nobody takes the time to do that. And there's just a distinct difference between any digitally created art, which is what they all are now, unless you're Michael Whalen, and the way things it used to be.
I got a dopey question as far as the paperback goes. Did you have it done in matte or glossy?
I ended up matte. I did proofs for both, but the glossy just wears so bad. I like gloss. So if in a perfect world, if the gloss had been less crappy than it was through KDP and Ingram, I might have done a gloss. Or if I could have done a combo, in that perfect world where you're not going through Ingram Spark and KDP. But just because of the way the spine breaks on the glossy, I was like, okay, yeah, I won't do it.
yeah, I really wish that there were better indie and small press options for things like spot gloss or spot embossing or any of that. But if you're not getting into multiple thousand copy print runs, you just can't get that down to any kind of reasonable price.
I was really happy with the internal quality of the print, versus what I expected, because I expected it to be crappier than it was. But it was actually pretty good. I actually kind of liked KDP's better than Ingram's. KDP, I think they're LaserJet. Ingram is inkjet, and the paper weight is heavier on KDP too. So it had a nicer look and feel interior, but it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree. I like the KDP interior. I stick with the cream paper. I haven't done anything with their groundwood.
I love their groundwood paper.
It's more
it's a lighter weight,
right?
It's more like trade paper or the mass market paperback weight, right?
Yeah, it's lighter paper. It's more like, you know, it's more the mass market, and that's just why I love it. I don't necessarily enjoy ordering from Ingram because kind of slow and kind of expensive,
Yes,
but
it is.
Yeah.
like I'll get a
God,
couple
the
of those
shipping.
paperbacks just for me.
Yeah, Ingram's process makes me a little cranky. It's whiplash going from KDP's turnarounds to Ingram's turnarounds. You're like, what the hell?
Ingram
Have
always
a
feels
monk
like
up in,
it's
like-
kind of mad that it has to be doing self-publishing.
Yeah,
They're-
it's very
they're
grudging. It's
always
just very
like, oh.
grudging about the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like, fine. We need your money. You can fucking use our shit. Fine.
Yes, we'll review your book, but don't expect us to update you on the status. And
Oh, and come back in 6 months to raise the price on everything, because we're going to
Yeah.
raise our prices, and then you'll
We're
be
gonna
in
raise-
negative publisher compensation. Otherwise,
and instead of giving you a nice like grid where you can just quickly reprice them, we just want you to get a calculator and figure it out.
Oh God.
yeah,
Yeah. Right now, I think some of my Ingram books are like $5 more than they are on KDP, and
Yeah.
it just hurts.
Yeah, mine's $4 more, just so that I don't pay people to take the book.
Yeah.
yeah, my shit's just expensive.
Yep.
So why don't you tell us the story of you before Legends Lattes? Because I mean, you got an interesting background. I mean, the narration, the video games, especially the video games. You've done a lot.
I have a varied background. So I spent about 20 years making video games, PC video games, console games. I ran Runic Games and was the lead designer and engineer for the Torchlight series. I made Fate before that, which a lot of people played on their parents' laptops, and they tell me that, and I feel really old. After running Runic Games for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, I decided I wanted to go smaller again. So I left with my partner, Eric Schaefer, who was the lead designer on Diablo and Diablo 2, and we had our own tiny little company. We made a couple of games called Rebel Galaxy and Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. So that was kind of like my 20-year career in games, doing kind of everything that you do in games. While I was doing that, at some point within the last couple of years before I basically retired from it, I started recording audiobooks because I liked it, and my kids didn't need me to read out loud to them anymore. And I also kind of justified it to myself as the equipment I needed to do on-the-spot VO recording for the games that we were making without having to go rent out studio space. So I put together the equipment, I started doing it, and it turns out I really, really liked it. And I kept doing it on the side for a few years. And then I did Will White's Cradle series, which I piggybacked on his success there because it's really, Will's just awesome. And it kind of felt the wheels start to leave the ground. You feel like you're going to be able to, this is actually sustainable.
Mhm.
And then I just started kind of slowly shutting things down on the game side and switched over, I guess it's 2 years ago, to full-time audiobook narration, which I love.
Yeah, I've seen you've done stuff for Dakota Kraut, who we've had on as guest.
Yep, I do. I'm working on stuff with Dakota's right now. I was actually on a podcast with Dakota last night.
Cool.
I do a ton of game lit and a ton of progression fantasy, and there's a lot of crossover between those. That wasn't what I expected I was going to be doing. I figured I would be doing like horror and thriller stuff and maybe mysteries or whatever. And I wanted to do speculative fiction, just fantasy sci-fi, because I love it. And then I kind of heard about game lit and lit RPG stuff, which is it's relatively recent genre-wise. But I kind of like shied away from it because I'd been making games for 20 years. And I was like, it's like if you were an engineer who made airplanes, and then somebody who'd never made an airplane before in their life or built one wrote a book about making airplanes, you'd be like, I'm not sure I want to read your book about making airplanes. But so I kind of shied away from it. But in the end, that was silly because it's just an excuse to take classic like fantasy and genre fiction settings and marry them with like modern characters and modern problems and modern sensibilities without it feeling weird. And it's also kind of this sort of like dopamine optimization of setup and payoff. It's taking that kind of like the reward systems from video games and it's like densifying how often you have a setup and a payoff in a book. So once I kind of figured that out and that at the end it's just like It's either a good story or it's not a good story. Then I didn't worry about it anymore.
So what would you say has been your favorite to narrate?
It's tough to beat Will's Cradle series. They're awesome. Will's really good at writing really lean, propulsive prose. He has really great characters that are really fun to inhabit if you're reading out loud. And his books get better as they go. He doesn't usually suffer. He doesn't suffer the series curse of like, oh, the first book was great, and then it kind of goes. His books like get progressively more and more awesome the deeper into a series you get, which is really rewarding because you're investing all of this time and you're like getting constantly more and more paid off for it, which is very satisfying. So also he's just a super nice guy. He and his whole family are just classy, great people. So they're really fun to work with. So probably Will's stuff.
All right.
But I have a lot of fun with a lot of them. I really love Kyle Kieran's Shadeslinger series, the Ripple System. Has some of the best banter writing I've ever read in my life, which is, as a narrator, is a blast to do.
All right, so now the dark side, and you don't have to name names. What have you had any experiences where it's like you're just like, I would sooner eat broken glass than work with this person again?
The people are almost always good. Sometimes, not every book is your favorite book, right? Not every book is good. Not every book is well written. Not every book is amazing. As a narrator, your job is basically to find what did my author love about this, and what do the people who are going to read it love about it, and try and connect to that and get it done. But the harder it is to do that, or the less well written it is, the harder the job is. So paradoxically, the most amazing books are the easiest work. But you still have to do all the work on the other books. It's like sharpening your knife, right? You've got to. That's what you sharpen your knife on, is the hard stuff, because then the easy stuff is even more effortless.
No, that makes sense.
The other nice thing about it, which I have discovered in retrospect now that I've written a book, is that actually having to read every single word of every book that you read and extract all of the meaning from it and pay attention to what the author's attempting to do and what they're succeeding at doing, which aren't always the same thing. And as a narrator, you're always trying to help them bridge the gap. I see exactly what you're trying to do here, and I can give you a little bit of a bump to get you closer to that goal. Doing that is really, really illustrative if you're writing. In the same way that like reading your own work out loud is a really good way to edit. You're like hearing it and you're like, oh, well, that works and that doesn't. I'm going to quickly change that. And you're basically doing that all the time on hundreds and hundreds of books. You learn a lot.
100%. I always do that with dialogue, because the last thing I want to do is hand something off to to one of my narrators and then be like, okay, there is no way I can read this without choking on it.
Yeah. I think it was Matt Dinneman was saying, he was on the podcast I was on last night, and he was saying that when he did creative writing classes in college, one of the most useful things was being in those classes and reading what other people wrote. And when they didn't succeed, paying attention.
So we'll get to these at the end, because I have some reader questions that our listeners asked me to pass on to you. So what's next? You have this huge hit out there. Where do you go from here?
Well, my goal. So I like the process, and I would like to write more. So my plan is to try and do one a year. And as far as what I'm going to write, I have kind of in my mind, it's sort of like a Terry Pratchett sort of approach, where it's different kinds of stories with different characters set in the same world that sometimes intersect, but that can each effectively be standalone and can talk about different things. And so that you could kind of just pop in wherever you want and read in any direction you want. And it sort of builds a little bit and illustrates the world a little more as you go. Because I'm not big on big, chunky world building. I kind of like the light touch. But I also like it if it kind of accumulates over time. You get this better and better picture of a place and the people, and so that's the general plan. Mostly writing about stuff that's relatable to me for the most part. I mean, this one it's not even thinly veiled. How many jobs have I switched now? So I wrote a book about quitting your job and doing a different job. I mean,
well, there's always something to be said about writing what you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So how about you personally? What are things you like to do to unwind, to chill out, when you're done with the workday?
Let's see. I mean, I like to read, but the problem I have these days is that I read all day. And so what I like to do, if I go on vacation, I'm getting a book. Reading in between, I end up reading a lot of novellas. I really like novellas, and they're one of the few things that I can pick up and finish so that I don't have to put them down. Because once I put a book down, if a couple days go past, it's kind of dead. I have to kind of stay on them. So I read novellas. I play games when I can. I'm really picky about video games, probably, again, from having made them from so long. I'm trying to play a little Elden Ring right now, when my eldest child has not monopolized it. And in the last 2 years, I haven't gotten done a whole heck of a lot of anything.
Yeah, know the feeling.
Yeah, don't we all? I sound like a really boring person. I work a lot.
That's just...
Yeah, but if you enjoy what you're doing...
Yeah.
And I do.
I'd wager a great deal of both us and the listeners, a little bit of video gaming is the spare time we have and what we choose to do with it.
I mean, I'm waiting for Breath of the Wild too. Come on.
Yeah, that one I'll jump on board. I don't touch any of the From Software games. I am very bad at video games. We have a whole stream about it weekly.
So Elden Ring is probably the least punitive one of them I have played. Fast travel, really quick respawns. You can an open world, so you aren't throttled to only go into the most difficult thing right now. It's probably the most friendly of them, weirdly.
That sounds like my kind of video game.
Yeah, I saw a lot of reviews who said that, and they also said, but keep in mind, that's the nicest of the From Software games.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely brutal if you want, but you always have an escape mechanism. You can always go do something to give yourself a leg up.
Oh, I do. It's called I Play an Easier Game.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I am. Oh, I'd love the idea of them, but the amount of time it takes to build that skill is just not what I have right now. I envy the folks who can, man.
Well, one of the nice things is that they've been making the same game over and over for years and years now. So if you've managed to build any skill in any of the previous one, it transfers over.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of with Drew. It's I can only be horribly murdered so many times within a 5-minute span before I gotta walk away.
I love the idea of it, but to be real, I've been playing Breath of the Wild for 2 years now, and I still haven't figured out the advanced combat controls. So, the Souls game would eat me alive.
I'm just annoyed that we're 2 years into the pandemic, and we don't have a new Fallout or Elder Scrolls game to just lose ourselves in.
I did go back and play a little bit of the Skyrim reissue, just because it had been a while, but.
There's a new Borderlands game coming this month. You won't see me.
Yeah, I made the mistake of trying Skyrim VR on the PlayStation VR, and I made it maybe about an hour into it, and I was just no.
I can't do VR. I can't. I get VR.
I get
real
it
bad.
Yeah, so do I. I get really nauseous when
and
I try
it
to put
lasts
on
for
the...
a day. I wake up the next day and I'm still kind of off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal.
I remember setting it up. I got one of the early Oculus kits, and I was setting up one of our things to use it because I was I'll try this out. This will be cool. And I messed up the settings. So you've got the interpupillary distance that you set, which is the focal point for where your eyes are going to actually focus on the picture. And I had that reversed, and I had the pitch reversed accidentally. When the first time I coded it up, I'll just put this together. And so I put it on, and it was trying to focus my eyes outward. And every time I looked down, I looked up, and it was one of the worst experiences.
Oh Lord!
Oh, that sounds horrifying.
God, that sounds like a torture.
I just went and laid down for 6 hours.
That only sounds hilarious if you could be watching you and what you're seeing. You could make that be funny, but since you couldn't, shit, that sucks.
I tried to play Beat Saber one time, and I took it, I like wrenched it off my head and almost threw up.
Oh, see, I can do Beat Saber. If I'm staying still and things are like moving toward me, I'm okay, because that doesn't tell my brain, wait, you're moving and things aren't moving right. Like that one I'm okay with. But the second I have to have any sort of action or momentum, like Rick and I were fucking around with a VR chat once. I hit the jump button and I was just fucking done. I was done for that entire day.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I mean, I'll admit I spend most of my time in VR getting my ass kicked playing virtual ping pong.
Oh wow!
But it takes up less space than actually having a ping pong table. So
That's true.
I tried VR once. I punched my son in the face.
don't you ever hand that to me again.
So Bob uses it as an excuse for child abuse.
So let's get back to Legends and Lattes, because as I said, a lot of our listeners are in the process of either reading or listening to it, and I mean they're loving it. I don't know how much time you spent on our Discord, or if you like logged on and said, yeah, I'm gonna get the fuck away from this, but yeah, they are really loving it, and as I said, they passed on a few questions, and
Awesome.
some of them I was like, no, I'm not asking that, but a few of them are pretty good. So why don't I hit you with a few of them? So one of them is, one, do you have a cat? And two, was that your inspiration for the dire cat?
I don't have a cat anymore. I had one long ago. My inspiration for the dire cat was like, it just seems like a coffee shop fixture. And a lot of the coffee shops I used to go to, there was some animal that was always around, usually a cat. And I just thought, well, this place should have a cat. I can get into nerdier. There was like a storytelling reason for it to be there too, because I wanted to have a way for there to be a protector that Viv didn't have to be. That also, where she wasn't passing like this mantle of violence to some other character that was like a humanoid. And cats are just, everybody knows cats are assholes. So I could safely have a cat be the asshole on her behalf without it feeling like it was, that there was a negative to that role being passed on to somebody else. So it just kind of worked. And the fact that it was enormous meant that I could use it for something more dire toward the end of the book.
Yeah, I have 5 cats, and yeah, it's when a cat like kills something, there's nothing other than, oh, it's a cat, you know. That's what they do.
Yeah, that's just what they do. You just
Whenever someone quotes the old adage, a cat will eat the owner within like an hour of them dying, no one's ever surprised or combative about that.
No,
really not.
No,
really not.
Especially cat owners, they're like, yeah. If I last an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my eyeballs would be hors d'oeuvres in 20 minutes, man.
In my head, Amity is like an incredibly enormous Maine Coon.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which are like the most death metal cats that exist.
If you're gonna have a cat that's a dire cat, like a dire wolf or whatever, yeah, Maine Coon.
Yeah. And they're big in real life. One of mine is a half Maine Coon. He's 22 pounds.
Good Lord.
Jesus. Or maybe like a Norwegian forest cat. Those things are fucking insane.
What are those ones that are like kind of look like house cheetahs or something?
Bengals?
Bengals, okay.
Or are they savannas? I don't know.
Ah.
There is one that there is a house cat that's like basically it's like functionally one or two iterations removed from like a Savannah wildcat.
Yeah, supposedly you can walk them like dogs and stuff. Moving on. Will there be an answer in a future book about the chess-playing gnome?
So my plan is to have him keep showing up and to say a little bit more about him each time. He's kind of like just one of those, in and out of the books kind of characters. He'll never be the focus of anything, I don't think, but he's intended to show up again.
Makes sense. I mean,
meet everyone's favorite character. It's always the person who is not the focus that people are attached to.
Oh yeah, it can be crazy with that stuff. You have like a side character who shows up once, and like suddenly it's like everybody's like, "You better bring this person back."
The Boba Fett effect.
Yeah,
It's like the it's like the minor NPC in a tabletop game.
Yep.
Created for one session as a one-off, and everyone's like, I want to know more about them.
Oh my god, I think you just cleared it up. Now suddenly, like, the Book of Boba Fett makes sense. It was a giant FU from the producers. It was like, oh, you want more of this character? Fine, we'll give it to you.
I couldn't get through the Book of Boba Fett. I only made it through one episode. And it was like watching a Walmart greeter wander around the desert, and I was just done.
Yeah, I likened it to watching like an extended Final Fantasy side quest.
I was like, I didn't know what his goals were. I didn't care. It didn't set up any questions that I wanted answered at all.
So far, that describes how all of us who watched the whole fucking thing feel. So, good job saving yourself 7 hours.
I hear that there were some cool episodes later on that didn't have him in it. I've heard about that, but then I feel like I have the burden of watching the previous episodes to get to them, and I haven't convinced myself to do that.
You also have the burden of watching 2 seasons of Mandalorian to have a goddamn clue what's going on.
Oh god.
Yeah, I'm the whole expanded universe phenomenon thing is it's like I'm getting real bad fatigue on that concept.
You know what people want? They want to see more of the Sand People.
I love the bit where somebody took like the 80s montage song and pasted it over the top of him teaching the Sand People how to ride speeder bikes, basically, and it was pretty hysterical. That was the best thing to come out of Book of Boba Fett for me.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up. That sounds hilarious.
Any scene with Ming-Na Wen in it was great. Everything else,
she's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, and the hot rod speeder bikes. I liked those.
God, the Vespa riders.
I love those. I thought those were dope as shit.
I didn't make it. Well, clearly I didn't make it that far. One episode in.
Well, no, actually, that's a good segue. So, like, what if you do get that chance to watch TV? What are things you like to watch?
Oh man, it's got to be good. It's like my tolerance for watching things has gone way down. I watched Peacemaker. I watched Peacemaker all the way through. The Mike Flanagan show that just came out on Netflix a few months ago. The one that was set on the island. I don't want to spoil the show. I'm just going to quickly look it up so I don't sound like an idiot.
Yeah, I'm
Mike
pulling
Flanagan,
nothing on
Netflix.
that one.
Midnight Mass.
Oh, yeah, okay.
On Netflix,
Oh yeah.
which I thought was pretty fabulous. I really enjoyed that.
I think I've got like one
I think I just missed that one
episode
entirely.
to go. It's really good.
It's really good.
Huh.
It's great.
Have to check that out.
Definitely worth your time. It was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
I mean, I don't think it's.
I thought it was
I don't
okay.
think it's too spoilery to say it's a badass vampire show.
It is, and it's just different. It's really
Yeah.
different than one that you've seen before too. And it's really great performances, really good characters. It was really enjoyable. It had a very Stephen King vibe to me.
Yes.
honestly.
What's it on?
Netflix.
It's got that.
Okay, check
Like
that out.
good, solid Stephen
It's
King.
got that
vibe.
New England Gothic feel that his stuff has when his stuff is good.
Yeah, working class people, a crazy lady at church. It's very Stephen King. Yeah, that was great. And what I watched the new Spider-Man movie. Finally.
I'm waiting for that one to hit streaming because I didn't want to brave the sliders.
We went to a theater with basically no one in it. We went on like midday on like a Monday, and it was basically vacant. And so we had it all to ourselves. It was perfect.
That feels like
did the
smart
same
play.
thing with my kids. Yeah, waited like a week or two for it to be out. Found a weekday, brought my kids. Nobody else in the theater, and it was like, this is nice.
Yep.
Yeah, that was basically what we did with Dune. And it
Oh,
turned
Dune
out-
was great. I did watch Dune.
Yeah.
Dune was fabulous. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic
I'm
too.
so glad they're making another.
Yeah, I'm really glad that it got its sequel. I think not finishing that story after the job they did with it, which
Did
just
such a good job. The production design was so spot on. The casting was great. It was so good. Especially after that disastrous old one, the Sci-Fi Channel one, the TV series. Do you remember that?
The TV series. Yeah, I do remember that one. That was
Children
that was-
of Dune.
Woof. It was just straight up Dune. They just did Dune.
Oh,
They also did Children of Dune.
Oh, did they do Children of Dune after that?
Yeah, they did it. Yeah.
After watching Dune, I wasn't going to watch anymore. But
it was the main thing I remember about the sequel series about Children of Dune was that it had like Leto II was James McAvoy, like a very young James McAvoy.
I don't even remember who was in the first one. I just remember that they just basically made their own dunes on a soundstage somewhere, and you could really tell.
Oh, yeah, it's an experience.
That's not a really great era for like TV CG either.
No.
All right. How about this one? How do you handle narrating on camera on your Discord?
Right now it just feels like my job. I've been doing it for a long time now, nearly 2 years narrating live. I like it because it's normally a really solitary job. But now I basically have an office, and it's kind of like a water cooler going on. I've got a separate iPad where I can see my Discord chat, and honestly, I just don't even think about it. It's nice to have like structure. So I'm on at like specific times. These are my office hours. This is when I try and work, and it's kind of fabulous. I love it. Also, if I really want somebody to check on something, like, oh man, how's that pronounced? Somebody look that up for me real quick.
Oh, that's
very handy.
That's cool. I like that. So is that just on Discord, or have you thought of like moving that to Twitch or anything? Or
the main reason I do Discord is because everything's transient. I don't have to flag it not to record. The chat is very manageable, and it's got a permanent history, and I can manage roles, and we do like level ups and stuff. So I've got Discord bots for level ups, and I'll call out the level ups, and we play special sounds, and you build like a very specific community that's all in one place with managed roles and ranks. It's just really nice. And Twitch doesn't feel like it's got the level of like control and community, I guess, that I can cultivate on Discord.
No. You probably have also greater, like, greater control over that community, because my oldest streams on Twitch, and every so often you just have an asshole come in. Yeah. And and I don't need a huge audience for it. It varies. I mean, usually there's like anyway like 7 to 10 people or something, right, at a time. It's just people coming in and out. Maybe there's like 1,600 people on the server, but it's just people coming in and out. And for a really big book that everybody's like really excited about, it might be 50 or 60 for a while, but it just kind of bobs around, and you get your regulars, and it's keeping me sane, honestly, because I don't see anybody anymore. And I spend all day in a box. And you're obviously able to do it without being distracted, which I got to say, I probably wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I mean, you get used to it. And, there's always pauses and stuff in narration. You can always I've literally got my text right. I've got an iPad Pro that has my manuscript on it, and then just to the left of it is a mini that just basically has the chat scroll for Discord. So I can just barely glance to the left and see what's going on. So it's really convenient that way.
One more question from our Discord, and I think a good chunk of these were from Erin, and she has quickly become a super fan, just for the record. So she asks, well, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, since you have this, this book on a coffee shop, what are your thoughts on coffee itself?
I mean, I love coffee. If I could drink it all the time, I would. If it didn't make me feel weird after the fourth or whatever espresso. I really like
espresso?
What's that? The fourth espresso? Yeah.
Jesus.
So my wife and we got each other one of those Terra Cafe like home espresso makers this year for like our anniversary. Before that, it's just like, coffee, whatever. But one of our rituals was we would take a walk to our neighborhood coffee shop. I used to live in Seattle. I moved out like right before the pandemic to the eastern side of Washington. And I love it over here, but I did miss our local coffee shop. It was like a Cuban espresso joint, and we would walk there every day, and it was just like our little ritual.
Aww.
Coffee was great. We knew the people there, and it was just really pleasant. So, I missed that. But also I just plain love coffee. So anyway, we got ourselves like a home espresso maker. It's all automated. Just say, I want an Americano, I want an espresso, whatever, and it does it. And it's great. And unfortunately, it's great because in a couple seconds, I'm going to have one.
Too good.
I've rapidly discovered what my limit is if I want to get any sleep at all. It was funny because, like, in the November, I started having trouble sleeping. There was like the daylight saving switch, and I was like, oh man, daylight saving switch really messing with my body clock. I'm just not getting as much sleep anymore. And then I'm like, after about a month of that, wait, no, that's not it. Oh, that's why I'm not sleeping anymore. God damn it.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. Well, one of my ex-girlfriends, she did, I think, her master's dissertation on caffeine overdose and stuff.
Oh God, I could have been a test subject for that.
I'm down to I have three doubles a day. That's my limit.
Jesus Christ.
Mostly.
I mean, I mainline Mountain Dew all day, and that's more caffeine than I take.
That's vibrating.
I was going to say, do you like narrate and then go build a bar in the backyard or something?
But I can't believe I have to say this to someone again, but you might want to consider switching to cocaine, go a little lighter.
Yeah, I was thinking, shit, why not just try meth? But that is the North Carolina in me, so we're going to default to the absolute most trailer park drug I can think of.
God, I'm trying to imagine, I'd probably get a lot more done and then, die within a week if I did that. But
I mean, I have had long years of acclimatizing myself to high levels of coffee. I don't even know what. I mean, you go to a Starbucks and it's doubles for anything you get, right? For the most part, unless you get something real small, unless you're getting a short.
I get the frappuccinos. I get the milkshakes for adults. So I don't know that I'm the best weigh in point on this one.
Yeah. You're talking to somebody who was really sad to see the unicorn frappuccino, go away.
Yeah,
I am a 30-something-year-old child, and I know.
I still live in Western Washington, so I hit like a local small coffee stand, and I can get like a triple shot white coffee, like mixed with chai, and it's dangerously good.
Wait, what's white coffee?
Racist.
Thank you. Jesus. No, it's basically I think it's like unroasted beans that have been like saturated to create the same effect. It's like got the same amount, or I think slightly more caffeine. It's got a different flavor profile.
Yeah, I'm a writer with a theater degree, and I don't do coffee. Never have.
You're a unicorn,
cocaine.
Aren't you?
All cocaine. I took Drew's advice to heart before Drew was old enough to try cocaine.
This is why our statue of Terry Pratchett is making such slow progress, also.
Because it's like you pour an ounce into the Terry Pratchett statue mold, you put an ounce up my nose.
Or you stand there trying to pour the ounce into the nose and then into the mold, and then like 2 seconds in, John or Drew was like, "Give me that mold."
Yeah.
Whoa! I think I'm pretty firmly established as the weed guy.
Well, that's how I get to sleep after I do all the other drugs.
God, I saw a meme that reminded me of you, Drew. Somebody, I think it was Mark Tufo, shared some meme that was basically like, "Yeah, these edibles ain't shit," and then it's like, then it's like shows somebody on the floor.
Like the one of like someone vacuuming their bathtub.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's an hour after 2 THC Delta Zero gummies.
Yeah, we're getting into whole subcultures I don't know anything about, gummies or coffee.
They do make weed coffee. I'm just going to go ahead and touch on that before someone in the comments yells at us.
That sounds awful.
That sounds like a good way to
I can't imagine
dead.
it's good, but...
Well, something, you put enough creamer into something, you can make it good.
Yeah. Or rumchata. Rumchata's like creamer, but better.
Does it have rum in it?
Just put creamer in creamer.
A little bit. It's a liqueur. It's Rumchata. We've talked about Rumchata. Okay, well, for anybody new to the podcast, Rumchata is an alcoholic liqueur that is basically like if you drank the milk left over after you make a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It is not very alcoholic, but it is extraordinarily delicious, and I recommend it for every home bar.
That sounds dangerous in the same way that Baron Jaeger is dangerous.
My buddy used to make vodka martinis and then just put like a few drops of Rumchata in and stir to mask the intense amount of liquor in them.
There was this drink that they had it when I was briefly in college at this Mexican restaurant. It was called a Benson Bomber, and it was 5 shots, and they had a 1-drink limit. They gave you a stamp when they gave you one, and it was it tasted like a chocolate milkshake. So it was like
oh my God.
a shot of brandy, a shot of dark cream de cacao, a shot of Kahlua, a shot of amaretto, a shot of something else, and then like a shot of cream. And it was basically like an enormous 5 drink that tasted like a chocolate milkshake. And good Lord.
I approve of any alcoholic beverage that requires a fucking Surgeon General's warning. That sounds great.
That would have killed me.
I was mentally going through my home bar thinking, fuck, do I have that? Fuck, do I have that?
Yeah, that's the thing that kills me is alcoholic beverages that don't taste like that, because I went to more than one wedding where I just got completely shit-faced on like Kahluas and creams.
Yeah, Rick drinks like a 14-year-old girl, so if you...
And I am damn proud of it.
I mean, it's not like I have any room to talk. We're always splitting a fucking 6-pack of Mike's Hard Lemonade. But if it tastes like it should have candy sprinkles in it, me and Rick are drinking that shit.
Oh, I'm in that club too. I got ciders and
same.
seltzers.
There's a liquor store 2 miles from the A&D Con 2022 hotel. So after everyone buys their tickets to Authors and Dragons Con in August in Charlotte, North Carolina at authorsanddragons.com, go on Google Maps and find the directions to the nearest liquor store, and you can buy us froofy-ass drinks.
Because don't show up and be like, dude, we got to do shots of scotch together, because that ain't happening.
Wait, there's a liquor store right by the A&D Con Hotel?
It's about 2 miles.
Did we make someone go drive a few years ago to... Oh, okay, a few miles.
It's 2 miles.
2 miles, okay.
And yes.
I was like, I remember we made someone use a car.
Also, we needed a luggage cart to get the booze in. Nobody could have carried that back. No one human being.
Yeah, we'll have to put that picture in the A&D Con Discord.
Yeah, we had the bellhop or whatever taking photos of it. Like, yeah, I haven't seen this before.
Yeah, I talked to that guy later. He said, "Man, you should have seen what these guys brought in before." Yeah, that was us.
That's a proud moment.
It really is.
Well, Travis, we're kind of winding down the hour here. This is the point to plug everything you want. So tell us where we should go, what we should buy, all that good stuff.
Oh man. So obviously it's clear what the book is. It's pretty easy to find on Amazon. There's an ebook and a paperback and an audiobook. If it seems like your thing, feel free to give it a whirl. And I narrate a bajillion audiobooks. So if you like audiobooks and you enjoy progression fantasy, or honestly, if you haven't tried out Will White's stuff, I'm just going to plug somebody else's stuff, which is tangentially also kind of my stuff. Will White's Cradle series is freaking amazing. Also, I can recommend Kyle Kieran's Ripple System series, Shadeslinger, Black Sand Baron. They're also really fabulous. Eden Hudson's Death Cultivator series. I'm just going to say audiobooks that I really, really like that I wish more people listened to. And David Petrie's Pixel Dust series. God, there's a bunch more. I get to narrate a lot of really cool stuff that I wish more people would hear. Because everybody hears Will White, but there's so many cool authors out there doing cool stuff. That's a pretty good plug, right? Spread
Absolutely.
The love. Oh yeah.
That's a great
Now,
plug.
do you have a Patreon or something like that where people can support you directly?
Nah, I don't need any donations. If you like the stuff, get it. It's all cool. I'm just gonna keep making stuff. If you want to drop by my Discord, it's so hard to send out Discord links or to say them out loud, but they're in my Twitter bio and my Facebook bio. So if you look me up and you want to come hang out, we're pretty much narrating books every single day for probably 6 hours a day for all eternity. If you want to come hang out and see how the sausage is made, it's fun. It's nice to hang out.
And we will have links to those bios in the description of this episode for anyone who needs it.
Although not links to the sausage.
No.
Not with our listeners.
Members only.
Yeah, that's on his OnlyFans.
Yeah, my OnlyFans we're not going to publicize.
Oh, God. Now, I'm looking at the cover to your book, and I'm thinking, oh, God. Orc barbarian porn.
And far away from that. That's not cozy.
Don't know.
Oh, so that's the next thing that's coming. It's like cozy erotica.
I mean, that honestly sounds like it probably does have an audience.
There's nothing that doesn't have an audience.
That's
somewhere,
some damn
some
truth
scale.
right there.
Shit.
I am just remembered when I put up my first horror book, it was constantly against this Bigfoot erotic series, and it was constantly kicking my book's ass.
All you got to do is put a blue dude on the cover. Just Photoshop some dude blue, put him on the cover.
I mean, you could just
Bang.
use full-on Dr. Manhattan and get the Wang in there, too. Just double down.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, Travis, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had a good time.
I did. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
good to meet you.
Appreciate it, man.
And several of the guys here on the show will head out to Washington for conventions. Drew, don't you do Emerald City every chance you get?
Did you ECC?
I do when I can. I didn't manage to get an application in, I think, for this round. Although I do have one in for Rose City, so fingers crossed I'll get up in the area at least this year.
Nice. I've never been to the Rose City one.
Oh,
I've been to ECC a couple times.
Rose City's nice.
It's pretty good, I hear.
Not as big as ECC, obviously, but
There's that other con they run, the other fantasy con they run, like near the airport, near SeaTac. I can't remember the name
Norwest
of it.
Con.
Yeah, Norwest Con.
oh,
Yeah, I go there. I go there every year.
That's on
It's
my
pretty good.
list of shows I'd like to do in the future is Norwest Con. It's
I might try and hit Dragon Con. I'm hoping I can make enough room in my schedule to go because it's fun to go.
Well, if you make it to Dragon, look us up. I'll be there.
Dragon Con's cool for me because basically all my authors go
Yeah.
too that I narrate for, so I get to like see people that I work with all at once, and they're all in the same place, which is pretty fabulous.
Yeah, it's like one of the few times in it every year that I actually get to hang out with James Hunter.
James
I
is
love it, dude.
awesome. James and Jeanette are so
Yeah, no,
great.
they're fantastic. We did several panels together last year at Dragon.
They're good people. I think I'm going to see them in May.
Cool.
Awesome.
Tell them we said hi.
And yeah, if you're hitting any convention in the Southeast, hit me up. Odds are I'll be there or some of my people will be there.
That sounds great. Yeah, and if any of you come to Spokane to the Lilac, convention, what is it? This is like the Lilac City, the Lilac City convention. I can't remember what it's called. It's like the Lilac City Sci-Fi Convention, Sci-Fi Fantasy Convention. It's very small.
Probably not flying across the country for a really small one.
Probably not flying into Spokane.
But hey, if they'll
You don't think so?
if they'll cover my flight, I'll come.
Yeah, we are pretty shameless whores about as far as that goes. Pay the way,
Yep.
we'll be there. All right, everyone. Well, a big thanks to Travis for joining us, and this has been SideQuest. We'll be back again next week with our main game. Until then, bye.
Bye-bye.